Hello folks, my name is Tom Meyer. I'm a happy owner of a Wicked Edge knife sharpening system and I wanted to demonstrate for you how and why I use a handheld microscope in the process of sharpening my knives. I got into this some time ago. I started out with a couple of small 10x loops, and when I learned about USB microscopes on the market and how reasonably priced they were, I went down that road. I have a old laptop computer where the display had failed, so I set that under my bench, bought a Celestron. Actually, I started out with a Chinese microscope, USB microscope, install the software in the laptop, and then I had a old computer monitor up on the table, so I could watch the image on there. I use the microscope entirely as a handheld device. I don't use the stand that it comes with. I've found that it's much easier, much more convenient to set it up for a given focused distance. I use the face of the shroud of the microscope as the focal point, and I prefer to use the lowest magnification that will focus on that plane. For this microscope, this is the Celestron 5 megapixel. The image that I get at the low magnification is really very, very usable. I can inspect the knife. I can scan it for defects, for dents and chips, and I can monitor my progress as I'm sharpening the knife to make sure that I'm eliminating all those defects. It is extremely wasteful of your time to proceed on to finer and finer grits, and then find out at the end that there's a very tiny little defect in the blade, a little chip or something that was too small for you to see or to feel, and but it's there. And when you cut through something like a paper, the knife will snag on that point, and you'll have to go back and start all over. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the microscopes and how they worked. This barrel type device is nothing but a tube. In the back there is a small round printed circuit board, and that printed circuit board holds the little image sensing chip, which is maybe about 4 millimeters by 3 millimeters. The format is the old 4x3 television screen format. Even though we've gone to widescreen on almost everything, the sensors are still the 4x3. There is a lens in here, and the amount of magnification you get is dependent on the distance between your object and the lens and the image sensor. Now, there's a thumb wheel on all of these devices, and what that is, it's a drum barrel cam. There's a helical slot inside of that barrel, and as you rotate the drum, that moves the lens closer to or further away from the sensor. For the focal plane that I use on the face of the camera, there are two magnification points that will focus on the image sensor and the image. And for this camera, it's at about 50 power and about 155 power. I can focus the camera at a low magnification. Now you've seen I moved it, and that's the 50 power magnification. And if I want to go to the high magnification, I move the cam down, and here you go. The problem with the high magnification is it's really, really difficult to find out exactly where you are, and it's difficult to keep the camera in focus. It'll as you're as the curve of the edge moves as you move along, it'll go in and out of focus, and it can be quite annoying to work with. And I found that working with the 50 power was much more convenient. I got a greater depth of field, and I can pick the camera up, and I know that it's going to be in focus or very close to it when I put it on the edge. Now I can put the camera down, do whatever I'm doing, pick the camera up, put it on there, and I know exactly where I'm going to be, and I can inspect the edge. I can look at it top out, down, or from either side. I can rotate the camera to put the image upside down on the other side, or right side up, I should say. For each of these cameras, they give.
Daddy's copy.
For each of these cameras, there's a calibration film that they give you. It's a Mylar film with a printed ruler on it. And what you do is you capture this image and you tell the software what the real distance is, and that calibrates it so that any image you take, image you capture at that particularly magnification, you'll be able to measure features and distances on it. It works out quite well. The Chinese camera that I just recently bought has a number of different measuring arrays on it. Here's one that is 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters with the divisions marked off in tenth of a millimeter. So each of those lines is about 4/1000ths of an inch. It works out to be quite a handy tool if you want to measure very, very small features, that kind of thing. If you wanted to measure the width of a bevel, you could do that with the camera very easily. Okay, but I wanted to, let me say something about resolution. You see cameras for sale on the internet at 1.3x or 1.3 megapixels or 2 megapixels and 5 megapixels, and let me explain what the difference is. A widescreen monitor like this one has a resolution or the number of lines, horizontal lines or vertical lines and horizontal lines is 1280 by 960, and that, if you multiply it out, that's 1.3 megapixels. Now this camera also can be set up for 5 megapixels. You can change the resolution. You can set it to any of 4 settings: 1280 960, 1600 1200, 2048 by 1536, or 2592 by 1944. The last one is the 5 megapixels. And really what it is, it's double. The pixels are half as large as the 1.3 megapixel image. Okay, so what for most of your use, what you see on the screen in terms of live images when you're inspecting a knife, whether it's 5 megapixels or 1.3 megapixels, there is no difference. The only time that you get to take advantage of the higher resolution is if you capture an image. It'll allow you to zoom in closer. You'll be able to zoom twice as close with a 5 megapixel image as with a 1.3. Okay, now moving along, I wanted to demonstrate the use of the camera in the sharpening process. What I have here is an old Sheffield knife that's that I've had for about 35 years, and I use it for practice mostly. And I'm going to put a couple dings in it, and you'll see what kind of damage that looks like with the camera. There we go. And this would be typical of any knife that you put in your vise. The first thing you want to do is get an idea of what kind of damage there is. If you were using a loop, you'd have to look real close. And for instance, as Josh from the Wicked Edge forum says, he would he'd file the edge flat until, continue to file it down until all of those defects are gone. And we're not going to do that, but we're going to take a look at the damage. Now here you can see there's a couple of dents in that edge that are very, very apparent. Okay, there's 4 of them. The screwdriver bounced each time that I hit it, and in order to get those out, we're going to have to do some stoning. So I'll proceed with, I'm going to go to my 400 grit stones. I use the SWAT adapters, so I gotta adjust for them. The SWAT adapters had already been set up for this knife. I sharpened it earlier on with the same settings, so I don't have to be worry about going through all the matching of the bevel with the Sharpie method or anything. I can just proceed with the stones. I use a Swiffer duster to take the dust off of the edge for inspection, and I'll move slowly down and we'll take a look at how much improvement we've made. There we can see that debris you see on the edge is plastic from my camera that is being shredded off by the toothy edge. Okay, there's one. Let's go back here. Okay, that's the first one. The second dent is, which was the screwdriver bouncing from the first strike. That one's gone. As is this one. I'm down to a relatively small amount of damage here. You can rotate the camera and you can see the depth of the damage from the side. We'll go back to the other one, and here I can see it too. It's right there, and if I rock up, you'll be able to see the dent in the edge. Okay, I'm going to continue with the 400 grit stones. Oh, just a tiny bit of dent still here. And there's the second one right here. Keep going. Now, even at 50 power, there's the size of the dings that you see there are really, really small and difficult to find with a light. I have an LED lamp here that I can bring right over the edge. Don't see anything anymore. Let's take a look at the camera. There's a tiny bit of damage right there yet. I can feel the burr from stoning on one side at a time. There's a little bit of damage there yet. Actually, that one is quite deep compared to the other one. And the point I was trying to make is that these defects are very, very small. They don't show up with a bright light. But if I decided that if I imagined that they weren't there and I continued on to my progression of grits, I could waste a lot of time on this knife and not realize that there's still a couple of dings of damage in it. That should do it. No, there's still tiny bits of damage there. Just that first one. Right there. Really small. I don't particularly care about this knife if the edge isn't straight or uniformly bellied. I'm primarily focused on getting that damage taken care of so I can finish. This is a strictly utility knife. Okay. Take another look. There's a really, really tiny bit of damage there, but I'm going to call that a day there and move on. I'll switch to my 600 grits, set the SWAT adapters. Now, we're at 600 grit, and we're not trying to remove damage anymore. We're trying to refine an edge. Trying to scrape off the deep scratches from the 400 grit. And so we can continue through the progression. Tweak the focus just a little bit, and what you can see now, we're looking at the edge, and what you're seeing, that bright line along the edge, that's actually the burr. And if I start doing alternating sides, we get rid of that pretty quick. But we're going to continue for a couple more stones, and I won't worry about the burr for now. Going to the 800s. You can see we're getting to a very nicely defined edge. The camera, I can look at it from almost any angle. I can, the bright flashes you see there, that's the lights over on my woodworking bench. But you can see how quickly that I can put the camera on a particular point on the knife. I can inspect any particular feature I want to. It's very quick and very, very productive. It really does enhance the experience because you waste so little time by proceeding to higher grits when it's inappropriate. Now we're at 1,000 grit, just cleaning it up. Take alternating strokes for maybe 5 or 10 to remove any burr that remains. And we should be pretty much finished. I hope this shows you how productive a handheld microscope can be for use on the wicked edge. I have mine. I have something added to mine that I highly recommend. The plastic shroud on these microscopes is a clear polystyrene, and when you move it over a toothy edge, the teeth are going to really bite into it, and makes it kind of awkward to move back and forth, a little difficult. What I did was I bought some slippery tape, and I would cut 2 pieces, a quarter by a half, and then I would stick them onto the shroud of the camera on the front, and then trim off the outside edge with a knife. And now I'm able to slide it along the edge with, very easily. It moves very easily, doesn't stick. Does a nice job. And when this tape gets chewed up, as this one is beginning to get now, I'll put on a new patch. It costs very little, and it goes very quickly. Hope this helps you. See you on the forum. Bye-bye.